Full moon out there on Saturday night, known as the full wolf moon, 25. Sunday, partly sunny and 45. We start a warm-up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Dave Murray on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Thanks, Dave. Right now it's 31 in St. Peter's, in Florissant, and downtown at the Arch. I'm Scott Jagow, KMOX News.
News, traffic, and the latest from the world of sports. This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Guys, welcome into Rush Hour Sports on a Friday. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler hanging out with you here. If you're joining us on the stream, feel free to throw in your 2 cents as we go along. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, easiest way to do it. You can always throw in your comments. Give me a comment, a question, opinion, whatever you want it to be. Doesn't matter. Just bring it all out there. We'll throw it in there as we go through the course of the hour. We've got a lot planned, Matt, probably a lot more heavy on college football than typical. Yep. Because nothing's happened with the Cards. And it's just been, the whole holiday season has been quiet, which is not unusual. Like from Christmas until probably like next week, right? You get past Christmas and New Year, business kind of gets back to usual. It's either right before the holidays or then picking up back after. I would imagine we'll have some stuff to talk about with the Cardinals in the next week or two. And we'll touch on that a little bit later on in the show because it just hasn't been much to update there. But the college football playoffs have been amazing. And I'm not just saying that as a Miami fan who has a friend that's a big Indiana fan. Our buddy Tom Ackerman watched his boys open a can of whoop ass on Alabama over the weekend. That was pretty sweet to watch. And I'd say that, what's nice about this year's quarterfinals, Matt, is we've got a little bit different mix playing for a national championship this year with Oregon, Indiana, Ole Miss, and Miami. And I think that's good for the sport that that group is changing a little bit more frequently here lately.
Yeah, Oregon is the team from a recent past standpoint. That's kind of the blue bloodish type team. Miami was at some point.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a bit. Ole Miss never has. Indiana never has.
Right.
So you talk about the SEC. There's Miami right now is about a field goal favorite against Ole Miss. There's a good chance that Miami wins that game. If they do, that's second straight year without an SEC team in the championship game.
Is that allowed?
So I don't think so. I'm sure Greg Sankey will run in and try to.
I'm sure Feinbaum's got some excuses.
Yeah, but I do like it, and I've said this a few times. I think what I enjoyed about the last 2 days of football is something unexpected happened. For me, something unexpected happened in every game. I didn't expect Miami to beat Ohio State. I didn't expect Alabama to get walloped in the way they did. I thought Indiana would probably win that game, but I thought it was going to be tight. I didn't expect Ole Miss to win, and I didn't expect Texas Tech to put up a 0. So 4 games, all unexpected, and even though 2 of the games were non-competitive, I think the fact that things happened in them that you weren't expecting to made them compelling and interesting.
Well, let's roll through the most interesting. Well, we just go through the 4, but to me, the most interesting and impactful game was Indiana just beating the brakes off Alabama. Alabama did not look like a well-coached team. They were out-muscled. They were outworked. They had less skill than Indiana, especially when it comes to the quarterback. And I was surprised at how badly it got and how quickly it got bad.
This could be a hot takey, which isn't a me thing, but I'm going to go with it. If you're folks at Alabama, because I'm not a Kalen DeBoer guy, he's a fine coach. He's not. When you're moving on from Nick Saban, it's a different world.
Yeah.
So I think what the folks at Alabama need to figure out is, can they go back to the era that was under Saban? And you got to remember, the entire landscape of college athletics really has changed since then. And Alabama's got some big boosters and big donors, but they're not like way ahead of other people in terms of their financial abilities. It's good. It's not great. So before, where they had some things going for them that maybe some other programs didn't, Alabama's got to figure out right now if they're comfortable with the status quo, if they're comfortable being just kind of a run-of-the-mill SEC team that's probably good enough to get into the college football playoff most years, or if they're going to find themselves back in the upper echelon of college football. And if they're going to do that, it's probably not happening with Kalen DeBoer as their head coach, and it's going to require a lot more resources from the money people associated with that program.
Yeah, and look, DeBoer's had a really nice college run, right? I mean, he's had a great record.
Fine.
But let's be real, though. I mean, again, I'm not trying to bag on the guy. I'm just saying that Alabama fans or SEC fans that think the Alabama train or thought the Alabama train was going to keep on rolling after Nick Saban, man, that doesn't happen very much in college football. Mm-hmm. When an era ends, that era ends, and it usually ends for a period of time. Now, Bama's still good. I mean, they're in the college football playoffs. It's not like they suck, but they're not the power that they were for the reasons you mentioned. One is that with NIL and the transfer portal, players aren't just willing to go sit at Alabama. They're not willing to go there and be bench players knowing that they will get their chance to start in a year or two. They'll play somewhere else, and they'll get paid more because they get to go play somewhere else, and the talent is spreading out in college football. To me, it's one of the reasons why the college football coaches are always whining about the portal and NIL, because they know that it makes it less predictable, and a guy like Nick Saban could see the writing on the wall. But you also have a coach in Kalen DeBoer, who, I do not have any negative opinion of, except that he's only a few years removed from being Fresno State's coach.
Yeah.
So he's a coach right now who, at the major college football level, only has what? So he spent 2 years at Fresno. He spent 2 years at Washington. And now 2 years. He's only got 6 years as a head coach in college football, maybe 7. This was his 7th year.
Okay,
if I'm getting it right. No, actually, I think I'm right. It's 6. He has 6 years as a college football head coach. And only 2 of those, Washington was good with him, but not great. They were good.
And
but
they were in a bad Pac-12 conference.
That's correct.
And they were in the so he competed in the Mountain West and the Pac-12.
Yeah.
And then he's going to go to the SEC.
And only 4 years in those 2 conferences. So
right.
that anybody would expect Alabama to just keep on rolling the way that they did was nonsensical. And again, I don't even think he's a bad coach. I think he's still, what was Nick Saban when he was in his 6th year as a head coach? I mean, he was bouncing around. He was getting fired here, and he left Michigan State, and he went to, and he was older when he got to be a first coach because he worked as a coordinator and as a position coach and all that. But the point is that, even Nick Saban, as great as he wasn't Nick Saban in year 6. So no. I think we have to just, we should have done a better job. And by the way, Vegas was not only right, they were way right on that one, because they had them as Alabama as a 7.5, 8-point underdog, and it was obviously way worse than that. And I think a similar argument, it's a similar tone for the Oregon-Texas Tech game for me, Matt, in that Oregon is an established program that is probably not at the level they were a few years ago. But this is, to me, wasn't surprising at all that Oregon won in a controlling way. Because if you look at Texas Tech's schedule, they didn't play anybody. The best team they played was BYU, and BYU is not that good. I'm sorry, I know what their record is, but those are 2 teams that, because of the conference that they're in, didn't play a lot of high-quality opponents. And I know Utah has a nice record. I know Houston has a good record. I know Arizona State with Kenny Dillingham is fun. But none of those teams are playing anybody outside of their little world. They hadn't had to go up against this before, speaking of Texas Tech. And
that's part of the larger problem in college athletics right now, because the Big 12 Conference is the 3rd best conference in college football.
No, it's not. The ACC is. Hey. Hey, who's there?
Consistently, you're
which of these 2 conferences has a team that beat Texas A&M, Notre Dame, and Ohio State this year?
Generally speaking, people would view the Big 12 as being better than the ACC.
I'm not sure, because in recent years, Clemson was a dog. I mean, they were huge, and it wasn't that long ago that Florida State was pretty good.
Post all the college football realignment, where the SEC and the Big Ten just clearly and obviously
ate up everything,
became the two best conferences. If you are looking from that point forward, I think generally speaking, people would say the Big 12 conference is the third best, and then the ACC. I'm going to stick with that. I'm a honk for the Big 12 because I went to a Big 12 school, but I'm gonna stick with that. Just as you're a honk for the ACC because you went to an ACC school.
I know, but they both get crapped on, and neither of them is the Big 10 or the SEC. We all know that. So that's not the point.
That it is the point I'm trying to get to, that whether it's the ACC or the Big 12 as the third best conference in all of college football, if you're the third best conference, yet you don't play anybody all year long, that's a problem. That means those two other conferences have just gotten way too top-heavy, and they've got to figure out a way to create some more opportunities for other schools and other conferences. I don't know what that looks like.
I'll tell you what it looks like. Get out there and play teams in the non-conference. Stop playing Arkansas Pine Bluff in the non-conference.
I think they do. I don't have their non-conference in front of me, but to see what Texas Tech did. But I don't think Texas Tech is running from anybody in non-league play.
I wouldn't say running. I'm just saying, like, their non-conference this year was Arkansas Pine Bluff, Kent State, and
Oregon State.
Bad
Oregon State.
Yeah, and Oregon State's awful. Now it's a formerly Pac-12 school, but they're an awful program. And aren't they in the Mountain West now?
They are. So when they scheduled that game, it probably wasn't.
But I mean, the point is, and that's not just Texas Tech. I would make that argument. I've made this argument for BYU forever, and for Boise too. Like, if you want to and I'm not even talking about getting respect. I'm talking about being prepared to play teams at that level, like being mentally and physically ready to take on those bigger teams.
Yeah, and BYU played Stanford this year in the non-conference. You don't know what that looked like when they scheduled that game.
Sure, but I mean, when's the last time Stanford was good?
When Harbaugh was there,
I mean,
Shaw era.
Yeah, Shaw had some good runs there, but I mean, like, the point is that they're a name. It's at least an effort. But it's Portland State, Stanford, and East Carolina. Like, you're not preparing yourself for the big boys doing those things. And your conference isn't tough enough to be that worried.
Yeah, if you're in a really good conference and you do the whole super cupcake, mid-major, legit team as your three non-conferences, I'm fine with that. Teams in the and in the SEC, you can't do that anymore.
No.
You can't go put that. You're not supposed to play the FCS teams anymore.
No, you're supposed to have at least one power conference team in your non-conference. Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to do that. But the Big 12 and the ACC teams do need to look at their non-conference scheduling.
Absolutely.
Now that we're in a world where the league schedule just cannot keep up with what's going on in the Big 10 and the SEC.
Yeah, and I say these things, by the way, not as a criticism of the teams being where they are or anything like that. It's just a matter of the practicality. You look at Oregon coming out into that game. Oregon had played multiple big games this year. Indiana, multiple big games this year. Unlike last year where they got criticized for that, this year they had those games in the conference where the schedule worked out, so they did it. Georgia and Ole Miss. Ole Miss played a lot of tough opponents this year. Miami, this was their third or fourth top-tier opponent that they had played. They played Notre Dame and Texas A&M leading into this. I've always believed, maybe part of this is being a Miami guy, Matt, because they've always done this basically since the early 80s, the anyone, anywhere, anytime in the non-conference. They're always playing Notre Dame. They're always playing Florida State when they were not in the same conference. They had Florida this year, which was bad, but like they're always putting those games. They put Bama on the schedule, a couple years ago. They've been doing that because I think it's more about preparing you for big games, or at least as much about that as it is resume building.
Yeah, but let's not lift up Miami too much here, because their non-conference included Bethune-Cookman and then South Florida, who ended up being really good. But I promise you, when they scheduled South Florida, that it looked like just that normal mid-major team that you normally match up against.
No, for sure. But they do every year, though. Their non-con this year included Notre Dame and Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, again, Florida's not in an upswing, but that's a SEC team. And now, like you said, when you schedule that 4 or 5 years out, you don't know what level those teams are going to be. But I don't see a Florida on the schedule of Texas Tech, or I don't mean specifically Florida, but that kind of team where it's not unusual for them to be powerful.
No, you're right, and that's because the ACC is now adding one more conference game, so there's only going to be 3 non-league games. A team like Miami is going to have to maybe if you put together that schedule minus Bethune moving forward.
Please, I could use without those games. I hate those games so much. I really wish all of Division I would ban those games. I absolutely hate those paycheck games. I understand it, but let's find a way to funnel the money to the smaller schools in a different way so we don't have to watch terrible games for no apparent reason at all. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here on Rush Hour Sports. We got a couple more games to get through from the college football playoffs. We will get to some Cardinals coming up in a little bit on Rush Hour Sports.
Reel in the big one at the best fishing expo in the Midwest, the Let's Go Fishing Show on January 2nd through 4th at Gateway Convention Center in Collinsville. Visit vendors with the latest fishing boats, rods, reels, tackle, accessories, resorts, and guided services. Shop unique, one-of-a-kind items and top-of-the-line marine electronics at discount prices. Attend free seminars. Meet pro anglers, Bassmaster Elite Series Pro, Brandon Palaniuk, Carl Jacobson, and more. Free fishing pond. Win prizes from Canoe Canada and Tri-State Trolling Motors. Visit letsgoshows.com for coupons and more info.
The news of 2025.
New focus from Chicago.
May.
It's Cardinal Robert Prevost. He took the name Leo the 14th.
James Comey making a threatening post.
A cool shell formation in the shape of 8647.
Cassie Ventura testified that Sean Diddy Combs controlled her.
Who was giving the authority for use of the auto pen?
For all the news of 2026, stay with 104.1 FM KMOX.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband Ryan died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Straight Talk presents The Math of More. Here's how it works. When you say yes to more with Straight Talk, you're left with more for all the other good stuff. So getting an unlimited plan starting at just $25 a month equals more savings for your family's weekend adventures. And with a network covered by Verizon, you can share more from wherever you go. It's simple math, really. More equals more with Straight Talk. Available at straighttalk.com and Walmart. Taxes and fees apply. The $25 plan requires a compatible unlocked device and a new line of service. Additional terms apply.
Okay, we've got the chips, the fancy cheese, the sparkling cider. Oh, and I need to fill up the tank on the way home.
Look at the cart. We haven't even hit midnight yet, and you're already blowing your save money resolution for next year.
I'm not blowing it. I'm being smart. I'm using Upside.
Upside? That cashback app?
Exactly. I just claimed an offer, and just like that, I'm getting cash back on all these groceries. And I'll do the same at the gas station. It's how I earned an extra $250 this year.
Wait, $250?
Yep, that's extra cash I can cash out to my bank or throw onto gift cards to my favorite spots.
Download the free Upside app and start earning cash back now. Use promo code POP10 for a $10 bonus on your first grocery purchase. That's promo code POP10. Make your resolution easy this year. Download the free Upside app today and use promo code POP10 for an extra $10 bonus on your first purchase.
Offers vary by user and location at participating merchants. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions.
Rush Hour Sports continues on 104.1 FM KMOX.
All right, it's Rush Hour Sports on a Friday. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here. A lot of college football today, a little baseball toward the end. I have a feeling that'll change next week. We will still have college football next week with the semifinal games on Thursday and Friday. Obviously, coming up on the NFL playoffs starting next week, too. So we'll definitely be having those things, but hopefully some more baseball to throw into the mix with the holidays coming to an end and maybe some wheeling and dealing getting back in there in free agency and the trade market. But we'll still do some cards later on in the show today. We didn't get to the other two games yet, Matt. Ole Miss and Georgia was a hell of a fun game, man. I thoroughly enjoyed that game last night. It was a great capper to what was a really fun quarterfinal round, but that game was slugfest, back and forth, 73 points scored in it, and really was a lot like their regular season matchup, just with the different outcome.
It was so much fun, and watching the end of the game, Trinidad Chambliss was making ridiculous play after ridiculous play, and Georgia just needed to make one play at that point. I mean, they had him in the grass basically multiple times, and if they just finish off that defensive play once, Georgia probably wins that game. Instead, that kid who was supposed to be the backup when the season got started,
pretty great,
was just doing things. It was so much fun to watch, for sure.
You know, there are a couple of plays there where I thought uncharacteristic Georgia, kind of boofs that changed the game. I think there are more than two big plays that changed the game, but there were two that stood out to me. Was the Gunnar Stockton fumble after getting a first down on a scramble, where he took 2 hits he didn't need to take. He was 5 yards past the first down line. At that point, just go down. Protect yourself, protect the ball, don't take the hit. Well, he took the hits, and he lost the football in the process, which was a big turning point. And then I don't know for the life of me how you can call a defense that allows any offensive player to get deeper than your deepest late in the game like they did on that big play to Stribling. How does that happen? I mean, if you're Kirby Smart, how do you not have somebody always deeper than the deepest on that defense?
Either somebody did something wrong or was the wrong defense that was called. And it's Georgia has always been the team, Kevin, that finds a way, that comes up with plays. They had that streak that ended yesterday. They had the longest streak in the nation of teams that have won games when leading in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
That was so un-Georgia-like, what we saw down the stretch of yesterday's game.
And I thought Gunnar Stockton was pretty awful, and I'll give Ole Miss some credit on that, but he was panicky. He did not seem to read the defense or see what was open in front of him, and he bailed on too many plays, and it definitely cost him. And in the Miami-Ohio State game, I told you guys last week, they could win by 2 touchdowns, they could lose by 3 or 4 touchdowns, because that's kind of how they are. When Miami plays clean, they win. And I don't know that it has mattered who they're playing, but when they bite themselves in their own butts, when they make a lot of mistakes, then they could lose to anybody. That's how they lost to Louisville and SMU. But we've seen the good team, the good version of them these last 2 weeks. Not the best offense, but a clean game, which for them usually means a win.
I thought they were impressive, and they got out to the 2-touchdown lead at the half, and then they just kind of did what they needed to do, sort of that bend, don't break. And I was sitting there thinking that Ohio State was going to have a second half run in them. I really thought Ohio State was
at halftime. I fully expected
game.
It. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Ohio State does. So much credit goes. And Kevin, you give a lot of junk to the head coach Mario Cristobal.
Yeah.
He was fine. Nothing stood out about no mental lapses from my.
No, they didn't have any big screw ups. That's been one of the big differences too. Is they've done a lot of things where he doesn't handle the clock well, where they take their foot off the gas too much. They did that a bunch early in the year, and they did it against Notre Dame and even in the beginning of the year, but they didn't do it in these 2 games.
And if you've gotten that out of your DNA, well, then that makes that a very dangerous team. And I think that's part of the reason why they're considered the favorite for that next round. If those 2 teams, Miami and Ole Miss, put the exact same efforts on the field in the next game against each other that they just did over the last couple of days, I think Miami is a little bit better.
It's a tough matchup because Chambliss brings a little bit more running ability than Sayin does, and that makes it a bit of a different challenge. But, yeah, it should be fantastic matchup. I feel bad for Ole Miss in this way that now we're finding out that even more coaching staff members may not stick around for the semifinals. What are we doing? What are we doing here? Where if you're coaching this team, how could you even think about not being there? And if you're Lane Kiffin, how could you even think about pulling anybody away from the semifinals for guys that you recruited, guys that you fought with and bled with, and you're just going to leave them empty-handed? That's just awful.
Charlie Weiss Jr. is in Baton Rouge today, not in Starkville. Not Starkville. Where's Oxford?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I find that whole thing to be terrible, and I wonder what kind of good position Ole Miss could be in if they weren't dealing with coaching nonsense. They're terrible. They're terribly tough, though, man. They're a really good team.
They are. They're a good team.
Yeah, they got a lot of talent. That'll be a hell of a fun matchup as we look forward to it. All right, we got a little bit more college football. We're going to have some baseball coming your way here as well, even though there hasn't been a whole lot of baseball news, at least not related to the Cardinals. There have been a few other things, but even outside of that, outside of Tatsuya Imai signing with Houston, there hasn't been a whole lot here in the last week or so. But we will do a little baseball before we wrap it up here on Rush Hour Sports.
For 100 years, you've welcomed KMOX into your cars, your kitchens, and your daily routines.
You've trusted us through breaking news, championship celebrations, and the stories that shaped our city.
You've listened during moments of joy and leaned on us when times were uncertain.
From overnight shifts to early mornings, from one generation to the next, you've made KMOX part of your life.
From everyone at KMOX, thank you, St. Louis, for 100 unforgettable years.
KMOX, the voice of St. Louis.
KMOX, celebrating 100 years. Presented by Purina, your pet, our passion. Now, a KMOX pioneer.
For more than 3 decades, Bob Hardy was one of the most trusted and respected news voices on KMOX. Joining the station in 1960, Hardy anchored major breaking news, produced award-winning documentaries, and brought listeners unprecedented global coverage.
President George Bush is on his way to St. Louis right now aboard Air Force One. He's accepted an invitation to spend a few minutes with us here this morning on KMOX. Mr. President, welcome to St. Louis.
Bob, I'm looking forward to getting back there. We're at about 35,000 feet heading your way.
Calm, steady, and unshakable during the biggest stories of our time, Bob Hardy helped define KMOX's reputation as the station St. Louis turned to when it mattered most. Bob Hardy, a KMOX pioneer.
Hi, Margaret with Eamon, Gantner, and Capriano. Our St. Louis baseball Cardinals reset last season. Now they're planning for the long term. Have you thought about a long-term plan for your family? A will, a trust, powers of attorney? Eamon, Gantner, and Capriano can guide you with a personalized estate plan. Sign up for our free webinar on our website, yourestateMatters.com. Learn more about estate planning, get some answers, list your questions, then schedule a consultation. You can plan for your family, your favorite charities, taxes, your long-term care, and even your pets now, before the courts do it for you later. Eamon, Gantner, and Capriano, yourestateMatters.com.
The choice of an attorney is an important decision and shouldn't be based solely on advertising.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy, Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
At 5:30, it's cloudy and 31 downtown at the Arch. Good evening, I'm Scott Jagow. Our top story right now, St. Louis County Police have released body cam footage from an officer-involved shooting at Lambert. It happened early morning, December 21st. Police encountered a man wielding a knife inside Terminal 1. They warned him, but he moved toward one of the officers instead. You will hear shots fired in this audio clip.
Hey, drop. Listen here. Drop the knife.
Police say 4 shots were fired. Officers gave first aid to the suspect, but he died at the scene. He's been identified as 31-year-old Darius Kennedy, a homeless man, according to the department. County Police spokeswoman Vera Clay says the reason for releasing this is to give the public a clear picture of what happened.
This briefing is not meant to draw any conclusions about whether the officers acted within their department's policy or the law, but to inform you, the public, of the information we know up to this point.
President Trump and top Iranian officials have been trading threats on social media. Protests continue in Iran over the state of the economy.
President Trump warned if Iran kills peaceful protesters, the United States will, quote, come to their rescue. Iran's supreme leader posted, quote, any interfering hand that touches Iran's security with flimsy pretexts before it can reach its target will face a reaction that breeds regret. The president also posted, quote, we are locked and loaded and ready to go. While the secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council said any U.S. intervention would lead to what he called chaos in the entire region and the destruction of U.S. interests. Linda Kenyon, CBS News, Washington.
Alton's Eagle Ice Fest just kicked off at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, so this is the first year that we will be extending this to a 2-day festival. We've been doing this event for over 17 years.
Grace Zachary is with Great Rivers and Routes. Tonight's event is at the Flock Food Truck Park. It includes ice carving competitions and a fire dancer. Tomorrow, there are events in several locations.
We're going to have a passport program this year, which will be so exciting. So we're going to have a local loop with a free shuttle, so you can stop by some of those local small businesses here in Alton.
And you can buy tickets for the 2-hour guided shuttle tour of hot eagle watching spots. That goes every Saturday through mid-February. Let's see what the weather will look like this weekend.
Our gloomy skies in place this evening and overnight. Clouds dominate. We'll dip back to a cold 27 degrees. Saturday, 40 for the high. Saturday night, clear skies. Good-looking full moon out there on Saturday night, known as the full wolf moon, 25. Sunday, partly sunny and 45. We start a warm-up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Dave Murray on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
And this news has been brought to you by Michael's Flooring Outlet, the flooring experts, michaelsflooringoutlet.com. It is 31 downtown at the Arch. I'm Scott Jagow, KMOX News.
Bernie Miklasz here for Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin comfort dealer that's been taking great care of St. Louis families since 1927. Dan Saliga is a fourth-generation owner-operator of this proud family business, and he is maintaining the highest of standards. The Miklasz family has called on Saliga for many years, and we give them the highest marks for honesty, knowledge, and class. You won't have to worry about Saliga trying to fast-talk you into something you don't need, but if a repair is needed, Saliga will patiently explain all of your options and answer all of your questions. The Saliga family business is still going strong after nearly 100 years, and they believe they must earn your trust every time. Saliga will never take your business for granted. Saliga services all makes and models for home or business and offers free estimates and financing options. I recommend Saliga's Priority Club. It's a maintenance plan that will save you money by extending the life of your equipment. To find out much more, call Saliga at 314-481-7333 or visit SaligaHeatingandCooling.com.
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind on your taxes, if you're afraid to open your mail because IRS collection letters could be coming, listen carefully. The IRS is cracking down, taking paychecks, freezing bank accounts, revoking passports. That's a fact. But here's what most people don't know. There are official tax relief programs designed to help struggling taxpayers. Programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Optima's award-winning team will fight to protect your paycheck, your passport, and your property. Their tax attorneys and licensed tax professionals will work tirelessly to get you the best deal possible with the IRS. Every day, penalties and interest keep piling up, so don't wait. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-348-0269. 800-348-0269. 800-348-0269.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Experience a celebration of movement and music as the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra and St. Louis Dance Theater join together for Stravinsky and Debussy Music and Motion. This adventurous collaboration reimagines Stravinsky's Pulcinella Suite in an entirely new way that celebrates powerful partnerships between dance and music. January 10th and 11th at Powell Hall at the Jack C. Taylor Music Center. Tickets at slso.org.
This is Todd Krenz with Krenz Financial Group. For over 6 decades, we've helped St. Louis families and businesses plan with purpose and live with confidence. We work closely with professionals in healthcare, from doctors and nurses to medical sales in biotech and pharma. Our team helps you navigate complex financial decisions like retirement plans, disability insurance, consolidating old 401ks, and understanding stock options or RSUs. We make the process clear so you can focus on what you do best. Your goals, our mission. Start today at kfgadvisors.com.
Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Servicing. Member FINRA/SIPC. Prince Financial Group is not a broker dealer.
Honey, that flu keeping you up? Did you take NyQuil Intense Flu?
Nah, I got this. Okay, I don't got this.
Yeah, you need NyQuil Intense Flu.
Undo your flu with NyQuil Intense Flu. NyQuil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms so you can sleep.
You do got this.
NyQuil Intense Flu. The nighttime sniffling, aching fever. Best sleep with the flu medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
All right, it's Friday on KMOX, Rush Hour Sports. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here talking about the college football playoff. For now, we'll get a little baseball here in a few minutes. We briefly texted about this, Matt, and touched on it on DGS a little earlier because outside of the outcomes of these games that have led us to a Final Four that'll have Indiana against Oregon and Ole Miss against Miami, we've had a lot of conversation, and this came up during the broadcasts of the games quite a bit with the broadcast teams. About the bye weeks, or sort of the bye in the playoff being a negative for teams. That, well, they had a month between games and they come out flat and they don't look good. And I think it's an interesting thing to keep an eye on, but I think it's getting overdone. I don't think this is as wild of a variety of outcomes as we think it is. Because when you look at these last 2 years, the favorites have won 5 of the 8 games. So forget buys, because the buys, remember, last year the 2 teams got buys that had no business having them, which is why they changed it. Arizona State and Boise State were double-digit underdogs last year. I don't care if they had a bye. I don't care if they were off for a month. They were double-digit dogs, and they would have been if they were playing with a 1 or 2 week span in between. They were never going to be favored against the teams they faced. So last year, 3 of the 4 winners were favorites. The one that was favored that didn't win was Georgia over Notre Dame, but Georgia was only a 1-point favorite. So that was basically a dead even heat. Arizona State and Boise State only got those buys because the rules were the top 4 had to be conference winners. Well, they changed that rule because they realized how stupid it was when you end up with those 2 teams getting buys. And then this year it was 2 and 2. 2 upsets and then 2 favorites won. I really think that story got way too much attention. It's interesting, but it shouldn't be a lead conversation.
Yeah, and I mentioned this during DGS. Like, the exact example of why that doesn't actually make sense is if you actually watched the Georgia-Ole Miss game, where Georgia had the great start, and then it was Ole Miss who took control in the second half. Like, what the layoff was going to start hurting Georgia in the second half, not in the first half. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. Now, 2 things can be true. I can sit here and say I don't think the layoff is having much of an impact, but I can also say the overall schedule is kind of wonky.
It's terrible.
We should get into this a little bit sooner.
Absolutely. We don't need a month between games.
No, we don't. And I'm perfectly fine. And I know some schools are going to push back because all of a sudden it's an advantage if you're not in the conference championship game. And I'm not I think the conference championship games are fun, so I'm for keeping those.
Well,
but
I hate to break it to you, but they're going to go away.
They probably are. But until they do, I'm going to enjoy them. And but I would have no problem with the first weekend of the college football playoff being that next weekend after championship game weekend.
Yeah,
that's just go, just do it.
I know they're trying to get fans to games, but those games are home games anyway.
Yeah, no, that doesn't make any sense.
Right. I mean, that's one of the reasons they want time is they want people to have a chance to travel and do all that. But when you're playing on site for those first round games, it's irrelevant. You're going to sell it out.
Yeah, 100%. And so that's the first. The first step is just get the things going. Dan Lanning talked about this a little bit, and he was talking about it in terms of how the NFL schedule interacts with the college football schedule. And I like Dan Lanning is one of my favorite coaches in all of college football. When he speaks, generally I agree with what he says. The NFL can rule the world if they want to. He tried to sit there and say that college football is doing some favors for the NFL. No, they are not.
No.
The NFL, by not playing on Saturdays during the most of the season, is doing the favors for college football.
That's correct.
Just like we saw the NFL stomp all over the NBA on Christmas Day.
That's exactly right.
They can do the exact same thing to college football. So don't give me any of that junk, Dan Lanning. But the larger point from him that the schedule is wonky is correct. I know, they really want these semifinal or quarterfinal games on New Year's Day. I get that. It worked out okay this year because New Year's Day was on a Thursday. Next year, New Year's Day is on a Friday. But if all of a sudden a New Year's Day is on a Tuesday or something, I think they got to look at that too and see whether or not that actually fits and makes sense for the schedule of it.
You can't. This is the problem with college sports in general, but I think specifically and most impactfully with college football. You can't be 2 things at once. You can't be the best version of the modern sport and latch on to history too much. One of them is going to suffer. And right now, the current product suffers because people want tradition.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's what it is. You're sacrificing your current product because of what used to be. Because New Year's Day was always the most meaningful day in college football. It hasn't been that way in a long time. We haven't played a championship on New Year's Day in how long?
A long time.
And the bowl games are also spread out, which is fine. If you want to do, I would argue you should just get rid of the bowl games as part of the playoff anyway. I'm fine that they do it this way, but it's totally unnecessary, and you're just trying to shoehorn the old into the new. And that's why you have so many damn problems with college football, because you can't break from the past. The NFL doesn't hold on to old traditions. They move on. You know, Major League Baseball and the NBA and the NHL, they evolve. College basketball has evolved way faster than college football has. You're not going to lose any fans if you're not playing on New Year's Day. Now, you could still play on New Year's Day and have other bowl games on New Year's Day, but you don't have to schedule the playoffs around that. What you need to do is get the schedule lined up so we don't have coaches leaving before the playoffs, so we don't have the portal happening in the middle of the playoffs where it's the semifinals coming up and the portal is open. And then, you know, the portal will stay open, by the way, for like 5 days after the championship game, so players that are still playing have the opportunity to get out there. And if you eliminate the conference championship games, sorry, Matt, and make that weekend the first round, you can expand the playoffs, have 16 teams, and then do what you're talking about. Just play every week. That's what you do in the NFL. We don't need 2 and 3 weeks in between. So this year, if you had played on December 6th for your first round of the playoffs with 16, you'd be down to 8. You could play that on December 13th. You could have played the semifinals on December 20th, and then you can save the championship for January 1st if you want. Or it can be the first Saturday in January, whatever you want it to be. But you can get it done in a month. You can get the schedule and the calendars lined up better, and you can move the portal a little bit so that it's not so confusing. And then maybe we can also do this so coaches aren't leaving in the middle of a playoff run.
Yeah, I think all that makes sense, and especially when you open up the portal and how that's going to work out. I do think Kevin, what are Indiana fans excited about today? Are Indiana fans excited that they won a college football playoff quarterfinal game, or are they excited that they won the Rose Bowl?
Oh, it's the playoff.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm getting to. I think that with the way this is working out, like the impact, the Rose Bowl is not the granddaddy of them all anymore.
No.
And
the championship game is.
Exactly. So more and more, the impact and the legacy of these bowl games are organically going to go away, where at some point in time, somebody with a little bit of common sense is going to go, what are we doing?
It always takes too long in college football. Like, look, the reason the chaos that we see now exists is because the powers that be never wanted to change anything. Nobody ever went to bat to get players some more benefits or better money or anything like that. So what happened was the courts got involved, and then once they got involved and it was just about enforcing the law, the NCAA is now behind, and the coaches are behind. And all these people that had power for the last 20 or 30 years could have been working towards a controlled system that wouldn't have ended in chaos, but they're too clingy with the past. You cannot do both things. Oh, yeah, for sure.
It was a money grab. Everybody, all the power brokers in college athletics put their head in the sand while their wallets got beefed up.
Yep.
And they allowed this to happen, where all of a sudden they have lost complete control, and every single rule that they try to implement gets challenged in court, and they keep losing because they're existing inside of the United States of America, where we have laws and where when money is being passed from one hand to another, it has to happen in a legal form. If Mark Emmert, the old president of the NCAA, I blame him more than anybody else, but he also was a little bit beholden to the athletic directors and the university presidents and all that. Those people are responsible for this wild chaos, which is not great for college athletics, that's going on right now. And when I say not great, That doesn't mean that players getting paid.
No, the product's great.
That is great. Yeah. The not great part is the fact that don't like the rule, well, wait 12 minutes, and some judge in West Virginia is going to tell you that it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And for everybody, for all these college football coaches like Nick Saban who do nothing but whine and I've got all the solutions. No, you don't. If you had solutions, you should have been working towards those during your coaching career. These coaches have massive power. Athletic directors have massive power. Conference commissioners have massive power. And they did nothing with it. So now you're left with stuff you don't like because you didn't do your job when you had a chance to do it 20 and 30 years ago. All right, baseball is next. Matt, we're going to talk about what's going on with Brendan Donovan. We'll do that next up here on Rush Hour Sports.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/Mike.
Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-296-1251. 800-296-1251. That's 800-296-1251.
Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and e-auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
I'm Ultima Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Every time one of my children started driving, it was terrifying. Thousands of accidents happen across the country. We see it every day. If you've been injured in a car accident, call us.
Dial # law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Retiring soon? Get the information you need by joining Kyle Jones and Matt Allgeier of Fire Capital Management for your retirement highway, Sunday mornings at 9:30. Investment advisory services made available through Pine Ridge Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Securities made available through AE Financial Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC.
Lifestyles Unlimited is a real estate education group that gives you the roadmap and resources to start building income through real estate. You'll learn practical strategies for using investment properties to create extra income and make informed decisions, one step at a time. Join today for just $297. That's a 60% savings off the regular price of our real estate education program. Text radio to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007. Presented by Lifestyles Unlimited.
This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
All right, Rush Hour Sports. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you, hanging out for Friday. And then next week, of course, we get back to business as usual. Hopefully, Matt, we have a little action. I don't mean on Monday, although it'd be nice. But, I think in the next week or two, we're going to start to get a little bit more movement going. We're still waiting on the market, I should say, in baseball. Still waiting on a lot of big-name free agents. Still waiting on Kyle Tucker and Cody Bellinger and Alex Bregman. And obviously some of the biggest pitchers out there, Framber Valdez. So there are a lot of things tied up. We still have the Ketel Marte trade rumors, which I think is impacting the speed at which the Donovan marketplace is proceeding. Not that it's going to be the same packages of players for each, but the same teams are probably interested in both.
Yeah, and if you think you got a legit shot at Ketel Marte, you're probably going to pump the brakes
and wait on that. Yeah.
Donovan. Yeah. So, and like we talked about on DGS earlier, the word out of Arizona is that they may shut down these Marte talks at some point. I don't know if that's real or if that's them just trying to force the issue of either teams, but whether it's Marte getting traded or him coming off the market, either one of those things would probably push up the process for Brendan Donovan.
Yeah, I do think that's Arizona telling teams that want him, step up with your best offers now because we're not going to do this forever.
Yeah.
We need to know. Sense. No, you're 5 weeks from spring training. 6 weeks from spring training. I mean, spring training, I think, is now 38 days away. Pitchers and catchers are 38 days away.
We're 7 weeks from today from the first spring training game.
There
7 weeks from today.
From the first game, 7 weeks?
Game.
Yeah. These teams, a team like Arizona, who is trying to compete, by the way, they're not fire sailing it. if they're moving Marte, apparently they just want major league pitching and maybe some young guys with that because they're a little thin on the pitching side. But, like, yeah, this definitely has to say that, this is the time to make a deal. And the Cardinals are not in that position, by the way. They don't have to be because they're not really planning on putting a contender out there. They can be the team that waits it out a little bit.
Yeah, and we just got a message in from Brian, and I think he said this earlier today on Gas House Gang, and I wasn't able to get it. Robert Murray's a good friend of mine, and he's so connected. And I guess he said on his podcast today that it's likely that Brendan Donovan does not get traded. I'm curious where Robert's getting that information, what's making him say that, because I know he's super connected in the world of baseball, but I think Donovan gets traded. I would very respectfully disagree, but it's interesting that we are hearing things like that start to pop a little bit.
I'm a little surprised that it's not the end of the world if he's around. I mean, especially if you're able to move Arenado. Right. If you're able to do that in any way, shape, or form, then you don't have to trade Donovan. I'd just be a little surprised that there wasn't a worthwhile offer. That would be the surprising part.
The pieces fit better if Donovan's gone in terms of what you're trying to accomplish on the infield. Because and I'm not trying to push Brendan Donovan out.
No.
But if Donovan's still around, then Weatherholt, who's probably a long-term second baseman, is going to have to play some third. Gorman's going to have to go over and play some first. That's going to impact Alec Burleson and how often he's at first. That's going to impact Ivan Herrera and what you want to do with him. So there's some, not that it's a runway season. We're not going to go down that path again. But I think some of the things that you would like to accomplish actually get accomplished a little bit easier with some space cleared out.
Yeah, and look, it's also like, I don't think this is where I'm not going to criticize yet what the front office's stance is on this, because I know that they're holding out for what they think is an acceptable package. But here's the thing. Donovan's value is not going up moving forward.
No.
He's going to get closer to 30. He's going to have less team control. And the further those two things go in those directions, the less value you're going to get in return. So maybe that doesn't matter to them. Maybe they're just like, hey, fine. He's a good player. We can play him anywhere. We'll figure it out. We don't know what we're going to have from Lars Nootbaar this year. We have no idea because we don't know exactly when he's going to be healthy. Might not be, in their minds, might not be the worst thing if they've already started to build up the pitching, which they have. But I do think it's clear that this is his peak value right now. So if you're not getting what you want now, you're not going to get better than that in the future, I wouldn't think.
And there is also the gamble that goes along with the fact that he's just coming off a year where he was injured a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Not that I think that this is going to turn into him being a guy, but he's dealt with, that's what, 2 straight years or 2 out of 3 years where he's dealt with some pretty major injuries. So if all of a sudden you bring him into the season and he gets banged up right off the start, and the way he plays hard. He is more prone, I think, to getting banged up because of the way he plays. All of a sudden, if something happens there, that'd be another reason that his value could start to come down.
Yeah. So, it's not necessarily a right or wrong here. I don't think they have to move him by any means because his versatility gives you the freedom to make other things work. If you were to say, all right, well, we need Brendan to play third base, he could do it. He'd be fine. Yeah. If you say, look, JJ, we want him to be a second baseman for the long term, you can play Donovan at third. You're fine there. It's not a big deal. And, it's not a big deal either if JJ plays some third because he's a decent enough shortstop to stick there in the minor leagues. So you could slide over to third if you need to in a short term, especially when we all got to get this in our minds when you're not in a contending mindset. Because if you're a little bit weaker on defense in one spot for this year, is it really that big a deal?
No.
No. It might be if you're trying to win the World Series or if you think it's the difference between winning your division and not, but it's none of those things right now.
Agreed.
All right, we solved it. Hopefully next week we'll actually have some action to talk about here in that regard, or maybe something else. It doesn't have to be Brendan Donovan. It could seriously be a whole bunch of other things involving the Cards. But we'll visit that next week. Have a good weekend, buddy. We'll talk again on Monday. That's Matt Pauley. I'm Kevin Wheeler. Rush Hour Sports wrapping up on KMOX.
Okay, we've got the chips, the fancy cheese, the sparkling cider. Oh, and I need to